My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/campaign to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Being a marketer's no sweat. You just have to manage dozens of channels, launch hundreds of campaigns, score thousands of leads, and okay, fine, it's a lot of sweat. Unless you have HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools to help you do all that and more. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
When I wake up, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. When I go out, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. If I get drunk, well, I know I'm
Oklahoma off over the weekend, but the football season continues to march on as if the Sooners were needed anyway. Kind of a shakeup day in the SEC, maybe a little bit. Caleb, how was your weekend without Oklahoma football?
It was good. Had a busy weekend, so I'm kind of glad there was no OU football. I really wasn't able to watch much, which is unfortunate. But just had a busy week and then had a little date night. But, outside of that, it was a good weekend.
I was looking as we prepare for this podcast, and do you know how many SEC teams right now are not bowl eligible?
I'm going to say 5 or 6.
You got to go with one.
There's only one.
No, you got to go with one, 5 or 6.
I'm going to go 6.
You have chosen wisely. Arkansas, Florida, Oklahoma, Auburn, Kentucky, and Mississippi State, all not going bowling as of right now. Mississippi State, no hope. Kentucky, no hope. Auburn, no hope. Oklahoma still has a slim chance. Florida still has a slim chance. I'm telling you this wrong. Sorry. It's still the same. Mississippi State's the only one with no hope at 2-8. I was looking at something different on their conference records. Mississippi State at 2-8 is the only one with no hope. Kentucky, Auburn are 4-6. Oklahoma 5-5. Florida 5-5. Arkansas 5-5. So of the 6 teams not going bowling as of right now, 5 to 6 still need to get one win over their last 2 games of the season in order to do so. I know this is completely off script, but I'm setting this up to say, is the SEC, are they not, is it a down year, I guess? That was what I'm asking you in the SEC. You've got your top 10 teams, right? Actually, you can say top 11 if you count Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's the only conference team right now with a winning record. The Commodores at 6-4, the only conference team with a winning record that's not ranked. So you got like half of the conference in the top 25, and then you got half of the conference fighting for bowl eligibility. That just doesn't sound like a great conference to me. If you're describing any other conference, you would say that's a very top-heavy conference that just isn't very deep. But it's the SEC, so go ahead.
I feel like that's how it's typically been. I just feel like we're paying a little bit more closer attention because we're in the SEC now. But, Arkansas hasn't really been good the past couple of years. Kentucky's been hit or miss. Vandy's always been kind of the laughingstock of football. South Carolina, Missouri, both have kind of been up and down. You take away really Georgia and Alabama, this conference is not really the powerhouse people think it is. But since they have the Bama and Georgia, it's even you can throw in LSU because they just won a national championship a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like top to bottom, it's still the best conference just because of how good. I mean, you have what, seven, eight ranked teams, maybe more than that, which is,
You got
I mean,
nine ranked teams.
nine ranked. I mean, what conference has nine other ranked teams? I
That's
mean,
what I'm saying. It's very top heavy. But look, we're used to, okay, Mississippi State, that okay, hit or miss with the Bulldogs, right? We're that they've never been fantastic. Kentucky typically is a bowl team. Auburn's typically a bowl team. We know Oklahoma is typically a bowl team. Florida is typically a bowl team. Arkansas, I mean, they're not great, but they're typically a bowl team. Vanderbilt, you're used to Vanderbilt and Mississippi State not being bowl eligible, but you've got six schools, Caleb, six as of right now that are not bowl eligible. Now, I don't think all six of them are going to miss bowl games. I think you're probably going to end up with three or four, maybe half of those not going to a bowl. But the point is, I'm just wondering if it's really that great of a conference. When you look at Georgia, right? Georgia beat Texas in Austin. They they just beat Tennessee over the weekend, but the Bulldogs are sitting there with two losses in conference. Like if look at Texas A&M. I don't think anybody says Texas A&M, man. That's the team right there. That's a college football playoff team. I don't think anybody outside of College Station is saying that about the Aggies. But if the conference championship game were this coming Sunday or this coming Saturday, it would be Texas versus Texas A&M. Alabama sitting down there with two conference losses. And so when you look at Texas and Texas A&M at the top of the conference, you look at Georgia, Alabama down there below that tier. They need help to get in, along with Tennessee. I just maybe it's optics. Maybe all we're talking about is optics. Like the numbers are still the same. It's just the names have changed. But it just doesn't seem like a strong year for me in the SEC. I'm typically not a Big Ten fan. I'm typically not a Big Ten fan. But I look at Oregon and even Indiana, and I'm thinking, dang, Ohio State, dang. I think the Big Ten is the best team, the best conference in college football right now.
and I agree. Do you know how many SEC teams did not make a bowl game last year?
Oh, I love this. Yes, please tell me.
Take a guess.
How many did not make a bowl game last
Did not
year?
make a bowl game.
So there was 14 teams in the SEC. I'm going to say five didn't make it.
Five did not make it.
Wow, look at
So,
me.
I
And
mean,
you're looking at me on camera. I'm staring straight into my microphone. So I
and
didn't Google that.
you add two teams this upcoming season, so that gives you the seven who, and on that fence of not making it.
Uh-huh.
Arkansas plays a nobody, so they're going to become bowl eligible this week. But look at it. You got to tell me right now, you put Vandy, who their three of the four losses are to ranked teams. Put them in the Big 12, that they're not doing a lot better.
Well, I'm not screaming that the Big 12 is great. I mean, I
Well,
think
I'm
if
just saying
Oklahoma's in the Big 12, they've got probably 7 or 8 wins right now.
that's what I'm saying. It's a top heavy conference, but I feel like you take majority of the bottom tier teams, plug them into the ACC, any conference really outside of the Big Ten, maybe even plug them into the Big Ten, and that number flips. I mean, I think Oklahoma does better in any other conference in the country than the SEC. And it's because five out of their five losses are ranked opponents. What other conference has that? They just don't.
I
So you're
mean,
saying
I,
I'm just I
yeah.
see that I see what you're saying, like, Alabama sitting at 8-2, Georgia sitting at 8-2. It's not You're not used to seeing that. LSU is what, 7-6-4. You're not used to seeing those. But I just think it's a better around top half of the conference. And so when good plays good, you're going to get good teams with high losses, as you see in LSU. I feel like LSU is a fantastic football team, and they're sitting at 6-4. Why? Because all four of their losses come to teams that are, I mean, let me double check before but I'm pretty sure
They
most of them
just
are.
lost to Florida, Caleb.
They did just lose to Florida. So I mean, so you got Texas A&M, Old Miss. No, they didn't. They lost to USC at the beginning of the season. So I mean, USC and Florida are bad
Those are bad
losses.
losses. Yeah.
They are, but the other two losses are Alabama and Texas A&M. I still think LSU is a decent. Now, I'm taking a step back. I said they're a good football team, and they're a decent football team.
Hmm.
But I just feel like you don't have to play Alabama. You don't have to play Georgia. You don't have to play Texas. I mean, you look at the Big Ten. Tell me what two teams really stick out. It's Oregon, Ohio State, maybe throw in Indiana.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's do that. So the number one team right now in the SEC is Texas, right?
Hmm.
Now they did not look superb against Arkansas, but they won 20-10. Would you place money on Texas to win the national championship this year?
I would not.
Okay. The number one team in the Big Ten is Oregon. 8-0 in conference, 11-0 in the season. Would you place money on Oregon to win the national championship?
I would.
Okay. The number two team in the SEC is Texas A&M. Would you place money on the Aggies to win the national championship?
I would not.
Indiana Hoosiers are the number two team in the Big Ten, 7-0 in conference and 10-0 on the season. Would you place money on them to win the national championship?
I would not.
All right, number three in the SEC is what? Georgia, right?
I believe so.
So would you place money on Georgia?
I would.
You would.
Yes.
Okay, that's surprising me a little bit, but I would not. I wouldn't play. I would not put any money on Carson Beck. Number three in the Big Ten is Ohio State, 6-1, 9-1 in the season. Would you put money on Ohio State?
I would.
All right, let's just go to number four. Number four is going to be Alabama in the SEC. Would you put money on Alabama?
Is Alabama number four or is it Tennessee? Oh, Tennessee just lost.
Right.
Um,
And
man, that was
Tennessee's lost to They're tied, but Tennessee has lost to Alabama and Georgia.
I think I don't think so. If you would ask me this a little bit earlier, I would say
Okay.
so, but this Alabama defense is just not what Alabama defenses have been.
Okay. So number four in the Big Ten is Penn State, 6-1 on in conference, 9-1 on the season. Would you put a bet on Penn State?
I would not.
So for me, the only team, and I don't know why I don't believe, but the only team in the top four of the Big Ten that I would not put money on would be Indiana. The only team in the top four of the SEC that I would put money on, I don't think any of them. I mean, maybe Texas, but Texas doesn't have it.
Yeah,
Texas
they
is
don't.
probably the most, I don't know if this is a word or not, but Texas is probably the most bettable team in the SEC, but it's not a good bet. It's not a good bet. And that's what you look at Indiana. I mean, you can look at the Hoosiers sitting at 10-0, the Cinderella story, but it's not a good bet. But
I,
Oregon would be a good bet. Ohio
that's how I kind
State
of
would be a good bet. Penn State would be a good bet. I don't think there's a good bet coming out of the SEC this year.
that's how I feel with Miami as well.
Yes.
Um, I mean, that's just one team that I feel like they got just lucky like 5 weeks in a row and the luck finally ran out.
Okay, let's yeah, I agree. I agree with Miami. And the reason I'm avoiding that is because I wanna come back to that later on. Okay.
Okay.
Um, SEC rundown. Texas beats Arkansas 20-10. Alabama destroys Mercer 52-7. Texas A&M 38-3 over New Mexico. South Carolina 34-30 over Missouri. Florida 27-16 over LSU. Auburn 48-14 over UL Monroe. Kentucky 48-6 over Murray State. Which of those games in the SEC can you say, yes, that's kind of what I expected to see happen?
I mean, if you take out all the cupcakes,
The garbage games.
I would say Georgia. I had them in our locks plus 10.
Okay.
And it's simply because Nico just he got a concussion. He hasn't been playing, and this is a big road game for the redshirt freshman. And so I just didn't think that he would be able to really compete at the level he's competed at all season. And I mean, he wasn't bad, 20 for 33, 167 yards, but no touchdowns.
Hmm.
Um, and that's kind of why I kind of said, yeah, I would put money on Georgia because this Georgia defense is really, really good. They just need Carson Beck to not be Carson Beck.
Right.
And I mean, I feel bad for that kid. That guy, I feel like he's like a Nissan Sentra in a he's like a Nissan Sentra at like a car show trying to flex. He had all these like Ferraris and Lambos around him, and then he's just kind of just there.
I
Like
used to drive a Nissan Sentra. That's why I laughed at that.
so did I. That's why it popped in my mind. But
Um,
I just feel like he's a lower level power five, power four quarterback. Just
mhm.
happens to land on Georgia somehow and kind of just doing his thing.
Yeah, and I just realized I don't think when I read you the SEC rundown, I didn't include that 31-17 win for the Bulldogs over Tennessee. And I obviously didn't see it going down that way because I in our power rankings had Tennessee last week as the number one team in the SEC. Clearly won't be the case this week. I think for me, the game that went as expected was South Carolina over Missouri. Um, with pun intended, it's a paper tiger for Missouri. They're not a contender, and I think that was obvious with Oklahoma that game. Four turnovers gave that game away literally, and Oklahoma's not a great football team, and neither is Missouri. And uh, South Carolina, they've come. Kudos to them and to Shane Beamer for turning that program, that season around. Where they started to where they are now. Um, what game surprised you in the SEC?
I mean, I
What?
think we got to go to Florida LSU.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
That was another one of my locks, and I locked LSU at 4. Florida has just simply not been a good football team,
Not
but
awful.
they came out and I mean, they came out swinging, and that was a big game for them because you're looking at their schedule now, you're like, they go into next week, uh, they go in 4-6. They're kind of like, we have to go beat Ole Miss to have a fighting chance of becoming bowl eligible.
Right.
But now you're looking at Ole Miss or Florida State, and we all know Florida State.
Yeah.
I mean, you're sitting, if you're a Florida fan, you're sitting pretty good right now thinking, okay, we can go bowling.
And I'm with you. That's the game. I looked at that score and I'm like, wait, what happened? Um, does that as an Oklahoma fan, knowing you've got to win one of the last two games, the Sooner fans all kind of circled Missouri. Do you start circling LSU now for the week after? That's like, man, that's the game I think we can win that one. Or is
I
it
mean,
just because we kind of felt that way with Missouri, and then you go and you turn the ball over time after time after time? Can you go to Baton Rouge? And is LSU suddenly viewed as a beatable team? Because I feel like there's going to be some infighting, maybe some discontentment with the coaching staff that might make that a more of a viable game for Oklahoma than it was 3 days ago.
yeah, in looking at their schedule, I mean, yeah, they beat Ole Miss, they beat South Carolina, but then we circle back. They lost to USC, they lost to Florida. You're like,
Mhm.
okay, they got two, as we like to call them, quality losses against Alabama and A&M, but both those games were kind of blowouts.
Right.
You have A&M winning 38-23, and then you have Alabama coming in and 42-13. And this is not the same Alabama that we saw go on these playoff runs.
Mhm.
This is the Alabama team that has struggled stopping the football. So yeah, I definitely think you can kind of like, okay, hopefully something can happen and we can somehow, some way win that game. But I still think I mean, you would have to have a lot of faith in this offense to do something. Because our question has never been the defense. I get people are frustrated with the defense. Oh, they give up a touchdown in 55 seconds. Yeah, I get that. But this is a defense that's been leaned on all season long. That touchdown didn't put them ahead. That touchdown is even the score.
Right.
You had the ball with 55 seconds, three timeouts. Your kicker already kicked one 50-yard field goal. Just move the ball
Hmm.
30 yards and you're sitting pretty. And the offense couldn't even do that. Was the offense drops the ball on the ground and gives up a touchdown. This defense is not the reason why we're losing games.
Yeah.
It's not 2019. It's not 2018. So I mean, it's a tall task. But yeah, I definitely think it's going to depend on what we can put out on this field against Alabama. That for me, like, yeah, I think we might have a shot. And of course, see how LSU bounces back.
Hmm.
They bounce back. They got Vandy. They host Vandy. If Vandy walks in and beats them, then yeah, I definitely think you can see, like I said, that coaching staff who already had issues on the offseason.
Hmm.
You had lots of rumors about players wanting to enter the portal before the season started. They're sitting at 6-5. You got a lot of players who might be like, okay, I'm just gonna shut it down, or hey, I don't really know what's going on. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, let's get through Alabama first, and then we can maybe start dissecting that a week from tonight. Um, when you look at it at the national level, take away the SEC, you look at just across the country. Was there a game that caught your attention, made you double check the score, or you were watching just in disbelief?
Uh, Kansas and BYU.
Yes, we have the exact same answers. Yes. What's up
I
with the
mean,
Jayhawks? They've beaten the top two teams in the Big 12 the back-to-back weeks.
did you watch any of that game?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, did you watch the ending?
No, I missed it.
Okay, I feel like the receiver could have clearly got a first down,
Uh-huh.
but try to be a little too fancy with it. I could have just seen because I didn't fully watch the game, but I definitely thought that he had an angle to make the first down, but try to extend the play instead of just going and getting the first down.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I was just gonna say, controversial ending for BYU the week before against Utah. I just thought they'd come out saying we got to prove it, but dang,
yeah, yeah, I was just say I mean, kind of checking the score, like okay, okay, and I was like, okay, come on, now it's time to start. Um, and then you also have Kansas State in the Big 12 going down.
hmm
Um,
But that one didn't surprise me as much. If you look at our weekly power rankings, we do. I didn't have Kansas State as high as you other three guys on the power
you didn't.
rankings.
And then another one was New Mexico beating Washington
Yes,
State.
but that would happen so late that
It did
I didn't clearly didn't stay up for that. But
because it
yes,
was like 12:30, and it was still like 10 minutes in the third quarter. I was
yeah.
like, I'm not.
But remember, 12:30 your time is one
It's
thirty
like
my time.
that is very true.
Okay, so you look at let's just do this. Let's do our top four teams right now in the nation. We'll start at four and work our way up to number one. I think we're going to have close to the same cast of characters. I'm just curious of what order we have them in. So who is the fourth best team in the nation according to Caleb?
I think I would slot in. I think I'll slot in Indiana.
Indiana at number four.
Hmm.
I've got Texas at number four. Um, and then I've got Indiana. No, I'll just go ahead and go. I've got Indiana at number three.
Then I have Texas at number four.
So we just got them in reverse order. So who do you have at number two?
I feel like we're gonna have the same top two.
Probably.
I have Ohio State
And Oregon number one.
and then Oregon number one.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I
So
mean, really, Oregon, they didn't really impress me either.
but man, Madison, Wisconsin is a tough place to win,
They are.
especially at night. So every team in the country has that one game where it's just kind of a head scratcher. The best teams find a way to win that game. And so yeah, it was not a great game, but to win in Madison at night, I'm sold.
Yeah, it would mean, and then it is. I don't know if you saw the picture floating around of Tawi and Dylan Gabriel after the game doing a little jersey swap.
No,
But I was like,
I didn't see that. That's pretty cool.
I was like, dang man. what could have
How
been.
yeah, how different is 2024 if those two guys are still wearing crimson and cream? We've got true or false coming up. Speaking of crimson and cream, that's going to be all centered around the Oklahoma Sooners. I'm asking the questions of Caleb. We got more to go here on the Sooner Nation podcast. Thanks for hanging with us. Okay, welcome back to the podcast. It's time for true or false. It's the part of the show where one of us throws out a statement. The other one tells us whether that statement is true or false, and then they have to defend their answer. Today, I'm asking this, I'm throwing out the statements to Caleb. He's defending the answers. Caleb, there are 5 of them tonight. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. True or false? Jackson Arnold can still bounce back and have a good career at the University of Oklahoma.
I mean, obviously it's true. Um,
That sigh right at the very beginning tells me everything I need to know. But go ahead.
it's true. Of course, he gets an offensive coordinator, he gets a quarterbacks coach, he gets the line, he can be something, but I have zero faith, and I feel like he has zero faith in himself. So I think his time at Oklahoma is done.
Okay. Um, let's move on to the next one.
But that means he's gonna transfer to a different Power Four school and pop off and win the Heisman in like 2 to 3 years.
Or he could end up like Nick Evers. I mean, not to throw anybody under the bus, but there
I, I
there
just
there
I
have
feel like
been
those
guys,
guys.
Chandler Morris, Nick Evers. There have been guys that transferred out that just kind of faded away into oblivion. Not everyone who leaves turns into Dylan Gabriel.
I feel like Spencer Rattler would be a better comparison because I feel
Okay.
like
Okay. That's fair.
Nick Evers and Chandler Morris left because they couldn't see the field.
Right.
Like Jackson Arnold's going to leave because he got replaced on the field.
I mean, you're a power four offensive coordinator. Are you giving Jackson Arnold the keys to the kingdom? Are you giving him, the reins of your offense for what you saw this year?
There's going to be somebody that does it. Yes.
I mean, Mississippi State maybe, but anyway, whatever. Okay, the true or false, the transfer portal is the only hope for Oklahoma's offensive line next year.
I'm going to say false. I think with the young guys we have on campus right now that are still learning the game, the young guys we've seen come in and make strides. I think of Logan Howell,
Mm-hmm.
Keith Luzida. Both those guys are, I'm pretty sure redshirt freshmen. Logan Howell might be a sophomore, but you got young guys that are they playing the greatest? No, but are you seeing improvements each week to take in the field? Yes. We saw guys like EPL who is hungry and violent. So I think you have enough guys on this roster that, yeah, if give them one more year with Schmitty, give them one more year with Bill Beatenbow or whoever the offensive line coach is, I think this offensive line can. I mean, I don't think they're going to be like the 2018 Joe Moore Award winners, but they can definitely be something. I believe in the talent in that room.
Okay. I I don't know
And
that I fully agree with you. Go ahead.
and we've seen what the transfer portal is. I mean, for every time you get a guy like Wanye Morris or the kid from TCU that would just graduated, Tyler Guyton, you get a Spencer Brown.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there hasn't been that many great hits out of the transfer portal on the offensive line. There has been a couple, but I just feel like it's been more or less hit or miss guys.
Okay. Um, True or false? Oklahoma's defense is set for the future.
True, 100%. Um, I mean, if you look at the guys that are making plays out there, you're only really the only seniors you're losing. Correct me if I'm wrong. For sure, the only players we're for sure losing is Billy Bowman, who's been fantastic,
Mm-hmm.
Danny Stutzman, who's been over. I don't know what's better than fantastic, but that's what he is. Woody Washington, who's been disappointing. Ethan Downs, who's been I don't want to say disappointing.
He's been
He hasn't really been a guy I'm like, oh, there's Ethan Downs.
Mm-hmm.
Trace Ford, who has kind of been disappointing. He's made big plays, but I mean, you look at the defensive line, you're still gonna have R. Mason Thomas. You're still gonna have PJ. I'm not even gonna try to say his last
Adibare.
name. Adibare. You got guys like Taylor Ween, who we've seen how physical he wants to be, getting ejected on the same.
Right.
And then you go to the linebackers. That linebacker room is just stacked. I
Hmm.
mean, all love to Danny. That linebacker room is going to take a hit losing him, but I mean, you got Kobe McKenzie, Kip Lewis, um, all those guys who are going to be here next year. Go to the secondary room. Yeah, you losing Woody, but I'll tell you right now, I'll take Eli Bowen over Woody Washington. I'll take a healthy Gentry Williams over Woody Washington.
Hmm.
You losing not Peyton Bowen. Billy Bowman's gonna suck, but you guys got like Peyton Bowen, uh, Robert Spears Jennings.
Hmm.
I would assume that he's gonna return. I don't think he has a high enough draft grade to leave. And then you have those young guys, Reggie Powers, the kid that just flies in, takes Michael Boganowski. You have guys that want to be physical, want to be violent, and you might get a uh, Kenai Walker back
Right.
if he gets that medical red shirt. So yeah, this defense is set.
Okay. I love it. I mean, I love that analysis, and I agree with you. True or false, Oklahoma's 2024 recruiting class is going to hold together despite the way the season has gone.
I mean, true, and you've seen players talk about that.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing to see like a local 3-star kid from Oklahoma, like, yeah, we want to stay together. It's a different if you're Star Jewel and Michael Fersucci's like, yeah, no,
Right.
we're Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you have multiple guys commenting on that, like, yeah, we're ready to rock. You know, we didn't commit to Oklahoma because we wanted to sit out a year. We commit to
Mhm.
Oklahoma because we think we can come in and play.
Right.
And I get that high school tape and college tape are different, but watching his high school tape, he's the type of guy that can definitely come in and help his offensive line immediately. So yeah,
They,
I think it's true.
right. They literally can't get worse. Last one, true or false, understanding what you said about the defense and the 2024 class. True or false, this season has been an anomaly for Oklahoma, but the future is going to be fine in the SEC.
Ah man, can I say Trolls again? Eh, Can I put true with the condition?
Sure.
You have to get a home run hitter as offensive coordinator.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think that's what it boils down to. You know, you get another offensive coordinator who's a dud, then yeah, I think you can see another 5-7, 6-6 season in the SEC.
Hmm.
That's how good the SEC is. Um, you got to continue to build the offensive line, which we've seen Bill Beatenbow doing. I mean, he has two tackles coming in that are in the top 100. He has his best recruiting class coming in after having his best recruiting class that came in. So
Hmm.
he's stacking up those offensive line guys that we need to be SEC ready. So yeah, I think it's true if everything can hold up, but you just got to go make the right hires.
All right, that's it for true or false. And this segment of the Sooner Nation podcast. We've got one segment left, and it's also going to be a fun segment as we talk about the college football season as a whole. Who are the top Heisman Trophy candidates? Who's Oklahoma's MVP? We got a lot still to go on the Sooner Nation podcast. So thanks again for hanging out with us. Welcome back to the final segment of this edition of the Sooner Nation podcast. Oklahoma clearly coming off of a bye week, so we have no game to recap. We will have a game to preview this week with our midweek podcast, Oklahoma, Alabama next weekend. Kind of having fun, Caleb, just talking college football in general. We did our true or false that was all about the Sooners. We did our top 4 teams for the college football playoff. Let's do this. Let's talk about the Heisman Trophy race, because this is the time of the year where, you're a month out from that presentation taking place in New York City. Let's talk about our top 3 candidates You said off air we may have the same three guys, just in the wrong order, like what we did with our top four teams. So I'm gonna let you go first. Let's do this backwards: 3, 2, and 1. Who's your number 3 guy right now for the Heisman Trophy?
My number three guy is Travis Hunter.
Okay.
I mean, he's a fantastic football player, but I just feel like he's a okay receiver who is kind of elevated a little bit because he gets just majority of the targets, and he's a really great cornerback. And I mean, but again, go to his stats this week, only 3 tackles. He has an interception, but it's not like he made a play on the ball. The other cornerback made the play on the ball and it landed right in his lap. And then he had 5 catches for 55 yards. So it's not like he's putting up just crazy numbers
Mhm.
this season. He has 74 catches for 911 yards and 9 touchdowns. I just feel like just because he plays both sides of the ball has kind of
Right.
elevated him to most people's top of their boards. And I think back to is it Julian Peppers, Darrell Peppers from Michigan years
Jabril.
ago?
Jabril
Jabril
Pep.
Pepper.
Uh-huh.
I feel like he was a better two-way player, and he didn't even make the top three. And so I just feel like kind of the hype around Dion has kind of really helped elevate Travis Hunter to the top of people's boards.
I do not have Travis Hunter at number 3. I've got Ashton Genty of number 3 of Boise State fame. Just because this is the guy, this is the PlayStation guy, this is the video game numbers type guy you have. I think if you're going to look for a knock against Genty, it's going to be the level of competition playing in that conference. But you can't knock his talent. You can't knock what he means to Boise State. I think he deserves to be in New York City. I don't think he's going to win the Heisman Trophy, nor do I believe he deserves to win the Heisman Trophy, but he definitely deserves the hype, the publicity, the fanfare, everything that comes with that trip to New York City. I've got him at number 3. I've got Travis Hunter at number 2. And I've got a little bit different view on Travis Hunter. I think, and I mean this respectfully, Caleb, but I know you're not a Deion Sanders fan. And I know there's a lot of people that are not Deion Sanders fans because of all the hoopla that comes with him, all the hype, all the extra drama that he brings. But you cannot deny the product on the field. Think about what people in the media, think about what people who talk about college football, like you and I, what were people saying about Colorado coming into this season? The Buffaloes have a really solid chance at making it to the Big 12 championship game, meaning they also have a shot at making the college football playoff. I mean, this conference, we talked about the SEC. The Big 12 is wide open. It is wide freaking open after this last weekend, and nobody has a better shot than Colorado. I mean, the Buffaloes are right there with Iowa State, right there with BYU, right there with Kansas State, right there. I mean, they're right in the thick of everything. And Travis Hunter is one of the reasons why. I disagree. I disagree that he's a better two-way player. I heard that Jabril Peppers was a better two-way player. Travis Hunter is electric. This guy is a game changer on both sides of the ball. And the fact that he's able think about it from this perspective. You just said he only caught 5 passes and for 55 yards. That's 11 yards per reception. How many snaps did he play? When you look at offense and defense, how many snaps was this guy on the field? He is an impact player to the point where both sides of the ball are better off because he's one of the 11 men on the field. I don't know that there's a better all-around impact player this year than Travis Hunter, but he's not my number 1. He's my number 2. And I think some of the disdain for the circus that comes with Deion Sanders takes away from what people feel about Travis Hunter. But the reality is it's working for Dion. He should be the Big 12 coach of the year. And it's working because of guys like Travis Hunter. And I got a lot of respect for him. Who do you have at number 2?
My number 2 is Dylan Gabriel. I mean, this is a guy that we kind of all thought was going to be a Heisman contender last season. I feel like he probably should have. He still had a really good
Yes.
season with the Sooners last season, but I mean, just under 3,100 yards in the season, 22 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Um, it's not showing me his rushing stats. I know his rushing stats kind of elevate. Oh, here it is. Here it is. My bad. Um, I know that kind of elevates it. Nope, that's not it. My bad.
I
Um,
was I was gonna look it up, and then you said here it is, and so I stopped. Keep
it
going.
only it only had like ESPN's only shown his passing stats. Oh, sorry, here's his rushing stats. He has 54 carries, 155 yards for 6 more touchdowns. So that puts him at 28 touchdowns, just under 30 touchdowns on the season. And he's on the number 1 team in the country. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that kind of plays a big weight. Being the best player on the best team kind of elevates that. Now he has games where he hasn't really looked the best. Um, like, I mean, I I feel like people try to point out this past weekend, this past Saturday against Wisconsin, but I mean, he, yeah, he didn't have a touchdown, but he still threw for over 200 yards. He did have an interception. I mean, he's playing great football right now, and that's why he's my number 2.
So that means you have Ashton Genty at number 1.
I do have Ashton Genty at number 1, um, just because he is putting up video game numbers, and you say, "Oh, well, look at the level of competition." He can only play who's in front of him,
Right.
and if we go back to the biggest game that they had this season, their one loss. Oh, who's that? Against the number 1 team in the country in Oregon. He had just under 200 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he can't do that against top teams in the country. And I mean, we're most likely gonna see Boise State in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like what he's been putting on the field this season is, I get lower level, but I mean, he's averaging he's averaging 7.4 yards a carry. So basically, getting the ball 2 times in a row, you get a first down. I don't know how many people play Price Picks, but his over under is always at that 200 mark, and he's hitting that quite often. And I just feel like he is one of the best. He's the best running back in the country, and I feel like he's the best player. I just don't feel like he should be dinked off because he didn't decide to chase a money bag to go to a bigger team this offseason.
You should be. You said dinked off.
Whatever.
I'm just saying. I mean, I love live. I love live podcasting because the stuff like that. Look, man, I love Ashton Genty. I love the story. I love the faithfulness to Boise. I love the level of play. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, Dylan Gabriel, if he wins the Big Ten, he wins the Heisman Trophy. That's just the way it is. He is the best player on the best team in the country. But why are they? Why is Oregon the best team in the country? It's because of Dylan Gabriel. And so it's not like Oregon is leading the way defensively. They're solid defensively, but that's not what people are buying tickets and talking about when they cover the Ducks. It's what's happening with this offense. He continues to be efficient. He's doing what he came back for one more season of college football to do. He's working his way into a top 1 or 2 round draft pick in April. I mean, it is a success story. When you look at his career numbers, now that he's there at Oregon, the way he's capitalizing on this final season, he is destined unless they just fall flat on their face these last 3 games of the season, that includes the Big Ten championship game, the dude's going to win the Heisman Trophy. That's why he's my number one. If you take Ashton Jeanty off of Boise State, they're probably still winning their conference. You take Travis Hunter off of Colorado, they're not doing it. They're not doing what they're doing in the Big 12. And you take Dillon Gabriel off of Oregon, they're not the number one team in the country. Those guys carry more weight and they play against stronger competition week in and week out. And that's why I have Dillon Gabriel at number one. Who's
Can,
the
can,
Yeah, go
can I
ahead.
disagree with you real quick?
Please do.
You said Dylan Gabriel was the reason why Oregon's doing so good. And I disagree with that. That award
Okay.
should go to Phil Knight.
To Phil Knight.
Yes.
I don't know, man. Because
That
look,
dude said, take my debit card and get me a national championship team. And that's exactly what they did.
yes, but I mean, look, it didn't work at Texas A&M. It hasn't worked right now for the Texas Longhorns. Didn't work for LSU. Didn't work for Notre Dame. I mean, not everybody who gets a blank check gets a championship. Dillon Gabriel is the crown jewel of that group that they're bringing in to make a run for the national title. So I get it. There's money there to be had, and kudos for Dillon. Kudos to Dillon for getting paid, but still, you got to produce on the field. I mean, look at, gosh, bring it back home. Look at Jackson Arnold. He is the highest paid player on this football team, and he is not producing. So just because someone throws a bag of cash at you, that doesn't mean you get the results you want.
It was just a joke. It
I
went straight
know,
over your head.
I know, but look, I mean, I just saying the guy's producing. Who's the guy that should be on this list, but he just isn't?
Um, I'm gonna butcher his last name. Curtis Raruki. I I I don't know how to say that last name, but the quarterback for Indiana.
Yeah, that dude. That's actually a better selection than what I have going for me. But yeah, keep going.
I mean, he's just under 2,500 passing yards, 21 touchdowns, 72 completion rating throughout 10 games. They're undefeated. They're probably going to be a top four team when this with these college football playoff rankings drop in a couple days. I just feel like he's definitely someone who should be invited to New York at the end of the season.
No, I love it. And again, what we just said about Travis Hunter and Dillon Gabriel probably applies to him as well. Are the Hoosiers undefeated without him? I probably not. Yeah, I think not because they're playing in the Big Ten. Um, for me, I love your pick. I'm just going to tell you, your pick is better than mine. Okay, can I just preface this? The guy I have written down is Cam Ward. And that's why I wanted to move away from Miami earlier in our conversation because I do not think the Miami Hurricanes are a national championship caliber football team because of the way they play defense. But man, this offense is humming. It's one of the best offenses in the nation. And Cam Ward is the trigger man. He's the guy who makes it work. And this is another transfer portal success story with Cam Ward coming to Miami. And the problem is, as good as Miami has been offensively and the turnaround that they've made this season, they're the best team in Florida. But I just can't justify putting Cam Ward ahead of Travis Hunter or Ashton Jeanty or Dillon Gabriel. He's not there for me, but he deserves to be in the conversation. He deserves to be on the list, but yet I can't swap out one of these other guys for him.
Yeah, I know. I completely agree with you. And I thought about him, but just simply I just he has not impressed me this season. He's been good, but not Heisman caliber, in my opinion.
Okay. So let's, I mean, obviously Oklahoma doesn't have a Heisman Trophy candidate, but when you bring it home, let's take the conversation from being, all across the United States, and let's make it just back to Norman, Oklahoma. Who is Oklahoma's MVP this season?
Can I let you go first?
Yeah, I think we're probably gonna have the same guy. I've got Danny Stutzman. I just don't see how it's anybody other than Danny Stutzman. You can make arguments about guys who are having solid seasons, guys who came out of nowhere, guys who kind of are under the radar in terms of who gets the glory. But at the end of the day, Danny Stutzman's 96 tackles is, I mean, he's a Butkus finalist. He is the spirit of this football team, the unquestioned leader. Do you know who's number two in tackles for Oklahoma?
On the season,
Yeah.
I'd probably go with, I feel like Robert Spears Jennings,
You are dead on. Robert Spears Jennings. But do you know how many tackles he is behind Danny Stutzman?
like 30.
More. Danny
Wow.
Stutzman has 96 tackles on the season. Robert Spears Jennings, the second leading tackler for the Sooner, has 55. Danny Stutzman has 41 more tackles than Robert Spears Jennings. That's how valuable he's been to this team. And we all know the defensive side of the ball is the side of the ball that's put them in the position to win the games that the offense is losing. And Danny is the guy who makes that click with 96 tackles. So he's my guy.
I mean, he's my guy as well. And the reason why I said I wanted to wait because I wanted to fact check. You keep saying that Jackson Arnold is the highest paid Sooner. He's in fact not the highest paid Sooner.
Okay.
Danny Stutzman is. Jackson Arnold is number 6, by the way.
What source are you using for that?
Uh, BMV Sports, which this is the third different article I've touched on though,
Okay.
and they've all had the same top 5.
Well, still Jackson Arnold's overpaid at number 6, but keep
I
going.
agree. Do you wanna take a little gander at the top 5 though? Do we have time for that?
Well, yeah, we have time.
Okay.
Well, you said Danny's number one.
Danny's number 1.
And we know Jackson's going to be down there at number 6. So give me just a second to think.
There's
Go ahead.
it's 2 offensive players and then 2 defensive players.
Well, I was going to say that's where I was going. Offensive players. Okay. Nick Anderson.
Nick Anderson is not on the top 5.
Man, there's offensive players making more money than Nick Anderson. I mean, I know
There
he has.
is.
I know he hasn't played this season. It better not be anybody on the offensive line.
It's not on the offensive line.
Okay. Is it
It
is it Bauer Sharp?
it's not Bauer Sharp.
Okay. All right, give me a second. Let me think.
Both the offensive guys are brand new to the team. This is the first year on the Oklahoma.
Okay, so Dion Burks.
Nope.
Really? All right, give me a second. Give me a second. Let me think. I'm actually just trying to pull up the roster here. Just that'll help me cheat a little bit. Give me a second. We need some Jeopardy music or something here.
We can get our post production guys to do that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, those so I'm gonna go with Taylor Tatum,
He's number 4.
and there's one more offensive guy.
One more offensive guy, and I am willing to bet anything and everything you would not guess who it is.
Jaquez Petaway. I'm just kidding. Michael Hawkins.
Nope.
How many how many
S
how many tries
s
do I get?
same room as Michael Hawkins.
Wait a minute. There's a quarterback making more money than Michael Hawkins.
Yes.
Casey Thompson.
Casey Thompson.
That's what I'm telling you. Dude is living his best life. He's getting paid and doing jack diddy at the University of Oklahoma. Why? I'm see now you're gonna get me on a rant going all the way back to last episode of the podcast. Why is he even here? Why is he on this team?
So he can make just under $300,000 a year to be the backup quarterback.
That just doesn't make any sense to me.
And then last 2, number 5 and number 2 are both defensive guys.
Yeah, Dominic Williams.
Not top 5.
Are you serious?
not top five.
Man, I thought that dude got paid.
He did get paid. I think he's number seven. They had him at number seven.
Well, I was gonna say Dominic Williams and Billy Bowman.
Billy Bowman is number five.
So there's one more guy making more money than Billy Bowman.
At number two, and he is a true freshman as well.
It can't be Peyton Bowen.
It's not Peyton Bowen. He's not a true freshman.
Oh, you're right. Um, man, who is it?
David Stone.
Oh man, I'm mad at myself. I should have known that. Yeah,
That
of
kid,
course it's David Stone.
that kid got paid to come be a freshman at
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm mad at myself for not knowing that. That was easy. That was too easy. Someone's listening to the podcast right now going, "You're an idiot," which I am. I mean, honestly, I am.
There's someone
Um,
on the podcast that said you're an idiot for not guessing Casey Thompson. There's somebody out there
no,
that knows all that just down to the.
how? I mean, I just don't understand.
Well, it makes sense because I mean, all I've seen Casey Thompson post, and I followed him since I played junior high football with him. The only things I've seen him post since he joined Oklahoma are just branding deals, and that's what it is. He just has a bunch of branding deals because he's a quarterback at Oklahoma. He's not the quarterback; he's just a quarterback,
I
and so
just,
he's just raking in money. And I don't blame him.
I mean, I
That kid
don't
is living
blame
his
him. I
he's
just
living
don't
his best life
I don't get it, man. I just don't get the investment for a guy. I don't know. Never mind. That part of the whole system blows my mind. Like you pay
because
guys for
you got to
potential.
remember that all NIL money doesn't come straight from the
No,
university.
I get that. I understand that. But what I'm saying is, like, okay, for example, let's take General Booty, right? He capitalized on his name more than he did his image or his likeness or what he did on the field, right? General Booty
Exactly.
was marketing his name. And good for you. Good for you for doing that. But man, Casey Thompson, I love the kid because he's an Oklahoma kid. I know him because you know him. You guys played football together. I just don't get it, man. Why would you buy something from him? I don't know. I don't get why you would invest in a guy who's on the team but making zero contributions. I just don't get it.
I think it's because he's a likable guy. He's just a
I'm
genuine
not
good guy.
sure.
And I
I'm
think
not
that's what it
saying,
is.
yeah, okay, then great. Good for him. I mean, good for all these guys for making as much money as they can. Um, I don't understand it.
I'm with you. I don't either.
Give me like we did with the Heisman Trophy. Danny Stutzman is our guy for the MVP. But who's a player that we probably don't talk enough about? He's not an MVP. He's not one of the top six paid guys on the team. But who's a guy that just we should talk about him more than what we do?
I think it's Javante Barnes.
Okay, that's a
Um,
good one.
I think I had two in mind, and I kind of just leaned towards him because with a terrible offensive line, he has still been an average running back. And I think you've seen so many great running backs just kind of disappear in the situations he has. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this offensive line does not give him any push. This offensive line doesn't give his quarterback enough time to get it dumped off to him. This offensive line just doesn't it's not a good fit for any running backs. I mean, you put Derrick Henry back there. Derrick Henry's not having a MVP caliber season.
I don't know, man.
I,
Derrick Henry was a tank. I mean, he was just a
he
tank.
still is
Do
a
you,
tank.
do you remember like the first time I saw Derrick Henry, I was consciously aware of him was when Oklahoma played Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, the Trevor Knight game, and they put him in the game, and I'm like, why has he not been playing the whole time? you know,
That was his true freshman season
right? And
too.
that dude was just a tank. Who was your just out of curiosity? Who was your second guy? You said you had two guys.
Eli Bowen. He's
Of
just
course, yes.
and
Yeah, now
I know.
see, you're all in on the Eli Bowen stuff. I mean, you would be buying if you had exposed.
Oh yes, I mean I feel like Eli Bowen is. If I could buy stock, I'm buying all of his stock
Right.
because of what I get it. People are gonna bring up that that touchdown he led up against Theo Wees at the end of that Missouri game. But I mean, there is not a lot of corners in the country that was preventing that play from happening. Theo Wees made a heck of an athletic
Right.
play to make that touchdown. I mean, he did all he could to stop that, and it still was a touchdown.
Hmm.
Even though Theo Wees has close to 6 inches on him. And so I loved his intensity. I love his aggressiveness, and I'm all in on that kid.
Do you know who I had?
I
My
do
guy that we don't talk about enough is
who
Luke Elzinga.
that is a fantastic one. I won the runner-up for Heisman. You won the runner-up for MVP. Lucas Zinga is a fantastic pick.
45.7 yards per punt is what he's averaging. And this offense continues just to peter out. And he's a weapon. I mean, he delivers. Think about how much worse it would be if Oklahoma has a punter who can't get it 40 plus yards down the field consistently. So that's my guy.
Yeah, you absolutely won that one. That was a fantastic pick.
It's crazy how long this podcast has gone with no football game to recap. But let's do this before we close out. Last thing is this. Give me one reason that I should be confident about Alabama coming to Norman on Saturday night. Sooners currently a 14-point underdog to the Tide.
Maybe you get drunk before the game and have a lot of liquid courage. Um,
Well,
I mean,
I will be in Oklahoma for this game, and I will be watching it with you. But
I,
beyond
I,
that,
I guess the only thing I can really see is if these players kind of try to rally around Brent Venables.
mhm,
He's got a lot of heat these last 2 weeks. Maybe these players are trying to okay, hey, let's go play for him, and maybe something happens. Um, Maybe Jackson Arnold has been walking around campus all week with a football in his hand, trying not to drop it, trying to practice not dropping it. But I mean, I have multiple times this season, okay, yeah, this offense can do something, and then they have let me down. And again, it's not going to be the defense. I don't think it's the defense that's going to let us
mhm,
down. This offense, I just don't know. This offense would have to have to have a
right.
miracle for
We
me to
need
have
Trevor Knight.
confidence.
We need can Jackson Arnold morph into Trevor Knight?
I mean, can Casey Thompson, giving Casey Thompson a shot,
Right.
that might boost my confidence. Doing someone who we haven't seen at quarterback. Um, Maybe is Andy Bass healthy? Can you go in this run the Wildcat with Andy Bass?
Right.
I mean, Oklahoma kids want it more. Maybe I don't honestly. The only reason I can see to be confident, the hope, a sliver of hope for confidence, is that they just try to rally around this coaching staff. Hey, we got you. We're gonna go play out all out. It's senior night. We're gonna go play for the
Right.
seniors. Danny, Billy, they came back for us. Woody, they came back for us. Let's go send them off right. Let's go their last hurrah in Norman. Let's send them out on a high note.
Yeah, see, that's actually what I had is that it's a night game at home on senior night. So that's if you're looking for anything that's going to be a positive edge, that's got to be it. That's the only thing I could think of. Um, it's just kind of like my fear is like that basketball. Traditionally in basketball, you start your seniors on senior night and you keep those guys in there for 2 minutes, and then you put the really good guys in. For Oklahoma, Danny and Billy are the really good guys, so maybe they can carry that momentum longer than just 2 minutes. But that's the only thing that I can think of that you're going to come back with and give you a slimmer of hope. Now we've got, a few days to break this down and dissect it, but we'll have a midweek podcast where we preview Oklahoma, Alabama, but it looks bleak at this point. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Sooner Nation podcast. We thought this was going to be a short episode. Turns out it wasn't, but it was a lot of fun. Caleb, enjoy your week. Everybody else, thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in and listening. Have a fantastic week. We're back to game week. Boomer Sooner, everybody.
But I will walk be the man who's working hard for you.